The Pluribus finale just paid off some really heavy foreshadowing with Chekhov's atom bomb, and they also had a cute Breaking Bad Easter egg in there that might be a huge hint about how the joint can be turned back to normal. Welcome back, ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and let's talk about the ending of Pluribus Season 1. So the title of this episode is La Chica o el Mundo, which translates to the girl or the world, and this is the choice that Manousos lays out for Carol.
Carlos Turca, ¿quiere salvar el mundo o quiere salvar a su chica?
Unknown word or name. Do you want to save the world or get the girl?
But it's also interesting that Chica is of course spelled with the feminine A, while Mundo is spelled with the masculine O, because Carol also has to pick between her dream pirate lady and this strange man who popped up on her doorstep. This is a full circle choice for Carol. See, in episode 2, remember, she looked down on Kumba for using the joint for his own pleasure. But in this episode, Carol is doing the same thing, except she has convinced herself that they genuinely love her.
You can't love him the same. It's not the same. It's different.
But I'll get to Carol's choices and her self-delusion a little bit later. Now we start the episode in Peru on a blue sky. And like we talked about last week, the color choices on Pluribus are always very deliberate. Every color has a chosen meaning and represents an aspect of the show. Blue is associated with the joined. The original RNA signal came from the sky, and they're watching the unjoined from drones. And blue often represents perfection and bliss, traits that we associate with the joined. But here, Kuzumayu is watching this white chemtrail streak across the sky, similar to the chemtrails that happened the night the world changed when the joined first broadcast their signal across the world. In fact, in a Hollywood Reporter interview, Vince Gilligan revealed something important about that signal that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. So this opening is 71 days after the joining, about 11 days after the rest of the episode, and it's here to show us the stakes of the series. The show began with a ticking clock. They are going to change Carol, and she needs to stop them.
Turn into one of you?
No, we're months away from knowing how to do that.
How long?
We're working around the clock.
But the creative team then decided to subvert that expectation by giving Carol an out.
Is it true that you need our stem cells to turn us into you?
See, she thought that they could not change her without her consent. So the show removed that ticking clock to challenge her character and to see how far her fortitude went. But this opening really puts the pressure right back on. We see that this new joining works. They can convert people, and it's only a matter of time.
How long do I have?
A month. Hopefully, no more than 2 or 3.
So she's petting this baby goat, and it's kind of hard not to think about this as a sacrificial goat in this context. We're not sure if this experiment's going to work, or if she's going to die like Helen and the 800 million other people did worldwide. Casanova had previously told Carol that this procedure would be painful and invasive.
Apparently that involves sticking a large needle into the bone of the hip.
But here they promise her it's not going to hurt, so maybe they've already done the painful invasive part, because now all she has to do is accept and breathe. Then she falls backwards, just like Helen and the others on the night of the joining. And there's something here that's framed like a baptism. During a baptism, you have to surrender control of your body and be submerged, usually backwards. And in the same way, the joined are submerging her into the blue-themed hive mind. And then immediately, the entire village is disassembled. They were only keeping the facade of the village running for the benefit of Kuzumayu. Not only does everybody immediately leave, but this poor little goat gets abandoned. And you can tell this goat really loved this little girl. They had an established bond that has now been broken since she's no longer an individual.
I didn't realize you kept pets.
We don't. But when an animal refuses to leave its former owner's side, we take care of them.
Liar! This opening is showing us the stakes of this series. We are looking at the total erasure of first human culture and then the human race. The joined are going to starve to death, and they do not reproduce. So this signal is actually broadcasting a slow, pleasant genocide across the planet. It's a gracious thief that's now coming for Carol. And then we go to the sky people tracking Manny from a spy satellite. So a couple of things to note here. One, his ambulance is mostly yellow, with yellow being the primary color that Carol wears, and it's a symbol of her independence. And yet, the ambulance is also tinged in blues, symbolizing how the joined are everywhere and they're encroaching on Carol's independence.
I'm watching you, Wazowski. Always watching.
Zosha in this scene is wearing blue and Carol is wearing yellow after they briefly switched colors last episode. And then Manny finally arrives. And frankly, this meeting goes about as well as their first one.
No me jodan más. Déjenme en paz, hijo de putas.
Chinga tu madre, cabrón!
These are both two fiercely independent people, and so we're seeing really the drawback of human society. The joined are always in agreement, but individuals are always going to be messy. We have our own experiences, our own hang-ups, we fight, we distrust each other, and it takes individuals a long time, a real struggle to form a community. So no wonder Carol feels drawn toward the sweet bliss of a relationship where there is never an argument. You know, when the alternative is this guy snapping at her.
I don't speak snap.
Case in point, Manny does not have any interest in listening to her or even compromising. He just immediately trashes her phone. And I love how, while he's using his machete to retrieve it, it keeps translating everything he says.
1000 kilómetros para esta mierda.
9,000 kilometers for this ship.
¡Cállese la jeta!
Shut your trap.
The phone is like the joint. It acts without an actual will of its own, it's just obeying its programming.
Not an insect, a bug.
No, insecto.
Wait, stop. Not you.
Tú no.
Now, when they're finally speaking under the umbrella, I thought this was such clever camera work because they're physically very close, but they're often filmed in a way that makes them appear alone. For instance, notice the huge amount of space on either side of the frame. There's a lot of negative space and a lack of look room here. Now, that typically means that your subject feels alone or that they're missing some piece of information. And in this case, it's showing that these two are not in agreement and they are not communicating well with each other. And we find out that Manny is way more of a hardliner than Carol ever was. He believes that the joined have stolen people's souls, and he thinks their deaths are a better alternative.
They're still human beings.
They are no human.
Yes, they are.
In other words, he starts off way more keen to use an A-bomb than to sleep with the enemy.
You are traitors to the human race.
So Carol's arc in this episode is to become more like Manny.
You win.
Carol admits that she was alone for 40 days. Now, this is a show that is filled with apocalyptic references to the book of Revelation, and this number is an obvious biblical reference. In the Bible, the number 40 is often used to symbolize, well, I'm gone for a long time. Like the rain fell on Noah for 40 days and nights. Jesus fasted in the wilderness for 40 days. The Israelites wandered in the desert for 40 years. And in this case, Carol was in a wilderness of her own. She spent time in solitude and afterwards faced death and had a kind of religious conversion. She wanted to at least be friends with the joined.
Why they come back?
No say.
So Manny's check for microphones reveals a hidden sensor. Now, this sensor actually is really important. It does a couple of things. One, it gives us a reminder that Carol froze her eggs, which, by the way, a lot of you pointed out on our Discord server where the PLURIBUS chat has been amazing all season. Shout out to all you guys. And if you're not on our Discord server, join us in the Plurib. So it also tells us, though, the sensor, that her marriage with Helen was not always perfect and ideal.
The device is a movement sensor. It detects when the cabinet is opened, then records it. Again, we didn't put it there.
She didn't like my glug, 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 glug.
Helen was spying on Carol, so this reminder makes it easier for Carol to move on from Helen and to seek out a more ideal relationship. Zosha will never care how much Carol drinks. She'll let her indulge herself just as long as it makes her happy. And notice how Manny's house is decorated with posters of classic magicians like Howard Thurston. And I think this is an incredible detail that hints at what's really happening in this episode. A magician's skill actually lies in their ability to distract and manipulate the audience, and this is what the joined are doing to Carol. They are giving her the illusion of love, the illusion of safety, all while they're actually plotting to turn her into one of them. Zosha and the joined create this seemingly perfect life for Carol. Endless vacations, endless romance with your dream pirate lady. But as we see, Carol actually does need someone to challenge her. For instance, Helen wanted to control her drinking as a measure on her health, and Manny is the one who has to remind her of her mission.
You were right. I think there's a way to put things back in their place.
Without someone to challenge her, Carol goes back to drinking too much and just watching Golden Girls reruns on the couch. And as the joined gain more and more influence over her, we see really subtle details, like this blue sideboard in her house. And this indicates that she is coming around to their way of thinking. So in this scene, she and Zosha are at the chairs from their hand grenade conversation. Remember, that conversation led to Carol accidentally detonating a grenade, which led to her asking the joined if she could have an atom bomb. And they answered,
Would you like an atom bomb?
And then Zosha waves a big red flag.
Love him the same as we love you.
And Carol just can't process this.
You can't love him the same. It's not the same. It's different.
but she should have known this was true. Remember that they claim to love her books as much as Romeo and Juliet. Carol has fooled herself into thinking that the joined can actually experience real love, or even romantic love, when really all they feel is an elevation of all the correct chemicals stirring around in our brains. After she tells Manny to start talking to them, he takes the advice and just runs with it. So Zosha prepares herself for a seizure, just like the baptism at the start of the episode, and outside, Carol spots a red car. Now, red has a new type of symbolism in the show. It stands for violence, passion, and blood. And on the color wheel, it is directly opposed to blue. So Carol catches Manny running an experiment with a shortwave radio. Remember, he discovered strange sounds on this frequency a few episodes ago. Now, at the time, I theorized that this was how the joined were broadcasting their signals. But in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Gilligan confirmed that this noise, this frequency, is something else. It is a different signal. So I wonder if what's happening here is that yelling at them produces a negative blast of chemicals in their brains that disrupts all those happiness receptors that Zosha talks about later in the episode.
Serotonin, dopamine, vasopressin, oxytocin, of course.
And then this other radio signal can then counter the electroneural pathways that Zosha mentioned last episode.
Something to do with the body's electromagnetic field, our natural electric charge, so to speak.
An audio wave always has an equal positive and negative sine wave. In fact, noise-canceling headphones work by broadcasting the opposite signal of what you're hearing to cancel out the sound. So, is this what this frequency is doing? I mean, Manny seems to think so, as we'll see later on.
Listen, Rick. You remember. You are there, but you come back.
But first, Carol uses the shotgun from the police car, foreshadowing that she's going to call on an even bigger weapon later in the episode. And after another, what had to have been a hilarious call from Lakshmi,
Screw you too, Lakshmi.
the joined leave Manny. And I think this is not because he produced a lot of negative energy. It's because he is close to uncovering their secrets, and this is the same reason they left Carol. They could not risk her finding out how to reverse the joining.
Now I know much more.
So Carol, at this point, has a kind of Stockholm syndrome. She is so desperate to no longer be alone that she voluntarily joins the joint, in a sense. And then we see overhead shots of their holiday. And remember, this God's eye view is how the joined see the world from spy satellites. So this is telling us subtly that she is now under the control of the joined. Now, notice Zosha is in blue, and Carol is wearing a patterned yellow outfit, showing the cracks in her independence. The book with this blue-tinted cover that she is reading is called The Left Hand of Darkness, and it is about a human envoy trying to get an alien world to join an interstellar alliance, which is similar to how Zosha is trying to convince Carol to join the hive mind. And then, at the ski lodge, Carol's sweater barely has any yellow anymore. In fact, she's mostly wearing white, which is a color that symbolizes purity and openness, like maybe she is coming around to understanding or even joining the joined. And notice that she and Zosha are wearing matching blue pants. Now, when Zosha finally admits that they are using her eggs to harvest stem cells, Ray Seahorn does an amazing acting job here. You can see it all play out across her face. The realization, the betrayal, but she doesn't give in to like a big display of emotion.
My eggs. The ones I froze with Helen.
Instead, she suddenly decides who she is and what she's going to do. She's got 1 month to end them or she's going to die trying.
If you loved me, you wouldn't do this.
And then Zosha replies,
We have to do this because we love you. Because I love you.
and her use of the singular pronoun is manipulative, and Carol finally sees that. And then we go back to Manny, who is studying electromagnetic waves and molecular crystallography. And remember, this is what Walter White won his Nobel Prize for in the show Breaking Bad, and it's also why he was such a great meth cook. But this could be indicating that the way to cancel out these broadcast waves is to create a different kind of molecular change to counteract the RNA sequence that started all of this. They need to block the hive mind at a molecular level. Or maybe it'll be as simple as sending out negative energy to disrupt their brains and then blocking the hive mind with that shortwave radio broadcast.
Gotta harness in the good energy, block out the bad. Harness, energy, block, bad.
And then Zosha flies Carol back in a red helicopter. Red, again, is the color most opposed to blue, and it's associated with violence. Appropriate since it's carrying an atom bomb. And then Carol declares,
We saved the world.
It's one hell of a cliffhanger, and it shows how dedicated Carol is here. See, the joined didn't just lie to her, they broke her heart. They created a false reality for her, and unlike Casanova's dumb James Bond fantasy, she did not ask for that fake reality. So now she's hurt, she's heartbroken, she's angry, and she's finally made an actual human friend. Now, what I think is fascinating about this show is how it's not an alien invasion show first. It is first and foremost a show that is about Carol. And Carol makes some really dumb human mistakes in this episode. She makes some selfish decisions. She chooses her own happiness or her own quest for happiness over the fate of the free world. This episode really challenged her principles and who she thinks she is. It reminded me a lot of the episode of Breaking Bad where Walt gets an out. His rich friend Elliot says that he will pay for his cancer treatment, but then it's Walt's pride and not necessity that force him into a life of crime.
Waving your checkbook around like some magic wand is going to make me forget how you and Elliot cut me out.
Gilligan excels at creating deeply flawed characters who we can relate to, and I think that's Carol. I think a lot of us would have done exactly what she did in this episode. But what do you guys think? Did Carol betray her principles? Would you have done what she did? Would you happily join the joined? And what do you think is going to happen in season 2? Let me know down in the comments below, or you can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, or especially on our free-to-join Discord server. And if it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. Please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.